The Kansas City Chiefs have a new old face or an old new face, however you want to look at it, back on staff at a position of need, and we've got some things to talk about it. In an article titled Steven Nelson Returns to Kansas City a Lot Wiser and Ready for a Fresh Start, subtitled Kansas City's newest edition played with the team from 2015 through 2018 from Arrowhead Pride by Maurice Elston. And Maurice, if you're listening to this, you have to start writing noir novels because you have the greatest name for a noir author that I have ever heard. And the article itself, noir novels, by the way, very underrated. If you have not read one, you should get into it. I've got The Maltese Falcon behind me at all times with Sam Spade, the article. Veteran cornerback Steven Nelson has returned to the team where he began his NFL career nearly a decade ago. But he's a bit different than when he left. "Oh man, I'm 31 years old now," he reminded reporters in the locker room on Wednesday afternoon. "I think I came in at 21, and I'm 10 years older now and a lot wiser, you know? A lot of things have changed." Wiser is the hope indeed. That is what this move, in my opinion, is all about. The wiser is where it will pay off. This move is about veteranship. The Kansas City Chiefs, outside of Justin Reed, have a very young defensive back room. And here's maybe the best way to kind of illustrate what this move is about. Late in the game against the Chargers, I believe it was in the third quarter, but it might have been in the fourth quarter. There was a drive where the Kansas City Chiefs really could have kind of snuffed things out. And I'm going to explain the play the best way I know how. It looked like Leo Chanel was going to blitz off of the left offensive tackle. And when the ball was snapped, he backed out into a zone. Then, all of a sudden, Justin Herbert hits Quentin Johnston on the left side of the field, the defense's right. And it looked like that was maybe Quentin Johnston was perhaps Leo Chanel's guy. He was the closest defender. But then all of a sudden, Joshua Williams comes running on screen and chasing Quentin Johnston. The defense was in a zone, and Joshua Williams was just kind of floating out there. And I talked about this on the video after the game. Even in zone, you have to cover men, not grass. And one of the pitfalls that a lot of young corners fall into is covering grass as opposed to players. Even when there's two players in the zone for which you are responsible, you have to cover a player. That is why the offenses decide to flood a zone and take advantage of whatever defensive back is in that zone, because they can't cover two guys, but they should be covering one. Steven Nelson is not going to make that mistake. He's not going to make the mistake of floating in space. That is the big deal for this defense. That tightens things up, even if it's just a little bit. If Justin Herbert does not have a wide-open Quentin Johnston to throw the ball to on that play, he has to set his feet and assess the situation. Maybe that gives someone like Chris Jones enough time to get there, or at least to get his hand up. One of the reasons the defense looks so bad is that Joshua Williams, when he's on the field, and Najee Johnson, I think Najee Johnson has different problems. Najee Johnson was a safety in college. I believe his last 3 years in college at least. And I don't think that he is all that good at technical corner work. That's where he gets into trouble. Joshua Williams gets into trouble just kind of leaving guys open when he's in zone. And I'm sure there are other things, but I am not the expert. The article continues. Even though he retired 7 months ago, Nelson has stayed in shape. It's not easy to break the habits of a lifetime, just jogging and stuff like that. A little light workout, he said of his routine, nothing too crazy. It's hard to get in shape to be on the couch, you know. This worries me a little bit, I have to concede. The idea that he was, and I get it. You retire after 9 years in the NFL, you want to let things go a little bit. You don't want to be out there for 2-a-days, etc. But if he was doing literally nothing and got a call from the Kansas City Chiefs because they knew he was home, that is concerning. So it's concerning on the part of Steven Nelson because, man, is he going to be in shape and ready to go? That's maybe the smaller concern. He's been an athlete his entire life. He'll be able to get in the shape to play 15, 20 snaps per game. That's all they're going to need. I don't think they're going to take Joshua Williams and Najee Johnson off of the field completely. They need someone to fill in a little bit. They need someone to fill in third downs, if that's all it takes. The bigger concerning part about this, if you ask me, is that we have no reason to believe that Steven Nelson was training in order to get a call. When he retired, it seems he was retired. It seems he was not planning on playing this NFL season. Lo and behold, the Kansas City Chiefs have found themselves in the predicament in which they find themselves, and I guess they just put out phone calls. Now, there are other names that are free agents right now and may have been training. Would they have been willing to play for what it is Steven Nelson is willing to step on the field for? The Chiefs don't have a lot of cap space. They've done a lot of acquisitions this season. They've traded away tons of draft capital this season. Was this just hey, you remember Steven? Yeah, Steven. You think he's doing anything? We'll just call him up. If this is that move, they feel much worse about the cornerback situation than I had given the situation, for which I had given the situation credit. And the final quote that I want to nab from this article: while head coach Andy Reid is excited about Nelson's return, he emphasized it will take some time for the cornerback to be ready to go. You won't see him play this week, declared Reid. That's not what we're going to do. It'll be like the other guys that came in. We'll give him a chance to get his feet under him for sure. He hasn't done anything up to this point, so we'll let him get moving around. Now, I think we all kind of knew that was the case. That was what was going to happen. Here's where it's promising. Here's the good thing about Steven Nelson not playing this week. It will give the young guys one more opportunity to figure out where they are. It will give the coaching staff one more opportunity to see of what they are capable. And Steven Nelson, the Steven Nelson signing, is for the short term. Hopefully this shores things up going into the playoffs. The Chiefs are in the playoffs. The Chiefs will have at least one home game in the playoffs. This will hopefully shore up that 3 or 4 game run. The Chiefs should beat the Browns. They're supposed to beat the Browns. The Browns, however, are giant slayers. They don't win a whole lot of games. They are 2-6 over their last 8, but those 2 wins were against the Ravens and the Steelers, playoff teams. So, thank you for beating the Steelers, by the way, because we might need that one down the stretch. The Chiefs cannot afford to walk into this one with their eyes closed. They have to execute and win the game. Jameis Winston is going to throw the football. He's going to sling it. That will be a test. It might not seem like it because he's going to throw for a lot of yards and he's probably going to throw for a lot of interceptions. That's just what Jameis does. He's like, was it Merrill? Was it Merrill in Signs by M. Night Shyamalan? He was Joaquin Phoenix's character who hit the most home runs in minor league history, but he also had the most strikeouts. And his thing was it just felt wrong not to swing. That's Jameis Winston with the football in his hands. So you're going to get opportunities as a defensive back. I think the Browns are likely to throw the ball a whole lot because at this point, why not? At this point, you might as well give the fans something to root for. And 500 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. I believe that was his stat line a couple seasons ago. At least it's exciting. So the defensive backs, the young guys, will have a chance to run around the yard and get something on tape so the coaching staff has something with which to move forward in the offseason. Now, here's a look at some of the stats from Steven Nelson. You notice there, going back to 2015, that's a lot of starts. 15 starts, 7 starts, 16, 15, 15, 16, 15, 16. That is a lot of starts for a cornerback. And even in his rookie year, 2015, though he did not start any games, he appeared in 12 games. So this is a guy with a lot of experience. This is a guy who the last, 6 seasons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons, has interceptions to his name. Started off his career a little bit sparse, and then came on and became something of a ball hawk. Strange that in 6 seasons, he has 3 years where he had exactly 33 return yards. Sort of a strange quirk of statistics, the way that it is working there. But moving on here, just 1 second. Here are his snap counts since 2015. 7,688 snaps. Going back to just last season, where he played 17 games and started 16 games, he played 1,088 snaps, the second highest total of his career, second only to 2018, his final season in Kansas City, where he played 1,164 snaps. But you see that he has 4 seasons there over 1,000 snaps. He has 3 seasons over 900 snaps. He has played a lot of football. He's seen a lot of slants. He's seen a lot of go routes. He's seen a lot of 5-yard ins. He's seen all of this time and time again. That is going to help this team out in the secondary. It's not about how athletic Steven Nelson can be. The Chiefs do have some players that have a lot of athletic ability. Najee Johnson, possibly chief among them. Go look at his numbers. That guy tore things up out of Marshall in the testing department. Joshua Williams has all the measurables you could want. He's 6'2", has 30-plus inch arms, all of these things. And like I said, when the Chiefs were still rumored to be signing Steven Nelson, you look at all of his numbers, you look at all of his testing numbers, you look at all of his measurables. He's a guy that is just below the numbers you want. He's like a half an inch shorter than you want. He's 3 pounds lighter than you want. He runs 4/100ths of a second slower than you want. But he's there. He's right there. With the experience that he brings to the defense, it's going to help shore things up. Even if he's maybe not still a 4.49 guy, the 4.49 guy that he was when he was drafted, if he can make offenses hesitate to throw the ball, that's what experience buys for a cornerback. Steven Nelson would have been able to recognize the route that Quentin Johnston was running. Steven Nelson would have made that route more difficult to execute and possibly would have stopped, I think it was a 3rd and 13, something like that, conversion. And if he didn't stop it, it would have been at least a whole lot more difficult. And it becomes more difficult on a play-by-play basis when you have some type of experience out there at the cornerback position. I will not say that is what they missed the most with L'Jarius Sneed. L'Jarius Sneed was a hard-nosed football player during his time in Kansas City. The Titans might feel something different about L'Jarius Sneed, but the experience that he had while he was still a young guy and on his rookie contract he came in and played football pretty early, right? He came in and got a lot of snaps very early in his career, and he was a no-nonsense guy. He took that experience and grew with it. Anyway, that's what I have here for the signing of Steven Nelson. If you like or appreciate what it is I do, hitting the like button helps me out. Hit subscribe if you are not subscribed and you are a Chiefs fan. The Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. We're coming up on 2 years consecutive of dropping at least one video a day. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.